We are now live on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid. And I'd like to thank you all for giving me your time, because you did not have to do that. As we wait for my co-host and guest, Carl Zah, to make it on the platform, I just want to take the time out to thank everybody for your support. I'll correct messed up some of the words in the thank you, but let me read it to you. It is supposed to say, I want to give a salute out to everyone watching, participating, liking, subscribing, super chatting, super thanking, and just showing love. It's all appreciated from the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me hit up Carl real quick. Make sure everything is cool. Because Carl had told me he had something was going on with I believe it was one of the links or whatever or something like that. So give me a second. Give him a little time. You know, we'll cook until he comes. And if he's not there at the dinner table, we'll still cook. Salute the flying crocodile. Thank you. And what you say, I finally made it the start, but have to leave in 30 minutes, bugger. Still, you can come back and listen to the whole thing. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. Michael in 007, salute Rashid in chat. Hey, I want to get to something before Carl gets here, okay? I want you to imagine what is going on with the intensity of the war in West Asia, okay? Not only, people are not thinking about this, not only are weapons being used on a massive scale, which means that more weapons have to be brought into production, right? And not only is there an embargo through the Strait of Hormuz, and not only are there sanctions and counter sanctions flying out, I want you to think about the seriousness of this. What about food? The shipment of food. Remember, these Gulf nations or these Arab nations, they rely a lot on imports of food. Have you thought about the economic strain on that? Now, check this out. There's a law that God put in nature, right? That it is in every one of us. Sometimes it's stronger in others than it is in the other people over here. But that first law of nature is called self-preservation. Now, if you are already an illegitimate government or have illegitimate leaders, or you are a despotic or dictatorial government, and there's already fissures in your leadership and in your government because the people really don't support you, right? When the oil prices skyrocket, but you can't make any money because you can't ship it out. As the supplies of food and everyday household stuff becomes more strained and more scarce, the prices go up, right? But while that is going up, the price of your currency is going down because you've tagged it or tied it to the dollar, or you've tied it to some semblance of Western hegemony. This means now that you are not only dealing with a regional war. I'm talking about pow, 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 shoot them up, bang, bang, bang. You're not just dealing with that. You're now dealing with a desperate population or desperate populations. You're dealing with war-weary militaries in the region. You're dealing with death and destruction. And you're dealing with a nation that won't pay attention to the core interests of anyone else but them. Remember, when we talk about America, America always says our core interests. We will defend our interests around the world. These interests that America talks about and drum up supersedes the interests of the very nations that they have bases in, and supersede the very nations in the regions where the United States does not reside, but has military bases and weapons there. Think about the lunacy of that. I want you to think about that for a minute. How can your interests supersede my wife's interests in my house. You live a city away, a state away, a country away, or a continent away. And you may have a cousin that lives in the same state as me, and then you say that your national interest or your family interest supersedes my wife's interest in what goes on in our house. I want you to make sense of that kind of reasoning, because when we hear them talking, they talk, but they never make sense. And the problem is, it doesn't make sense, but you don't think to say, you know what? Let me question them on this stuff. Shout out to everybody. I'm sorry, I'm messing up your name. Chad Franklin is in the building. Gilchrist is in the building. Michael says he was thinking about food shipments too. See, this is what I'm saying. Beer Break 1 is in the building. M Spark 187 is in the building. I'm trying to tell you. Think about the I just got somebody's trying to come on. They're saying they're being blocked. Hold on. I wonder why. Maybe it's these crazy. Then we'll see. We'll see in a second. Anyway, I sent Carl the link again, and I also sent him a message. So hopefully he'll get it. But the sheeple are already starting to show their fear, bleeding in queues at petrol stations, hitting the grocery stores to stock up on 100 rolls of toilet paper. What the And then W. Gilchrist is Rashid. The W is for William. I know it. I know it. I didn't know if you wanted me to say it, but I know it. I remember it from before you. I think you used to have it William Gilchrist or something like that. But I didn't want to just put your name out there without you approving it. But listen, let's go back to something real quick. All right, to this right here. I was also thinking about food shipments. Now, think about this. As a matter of fact, I think I got a run up on this here. Where is it? They say the United Arab Emirates imports 80 to 90% of its food. Saudi Arabia, 80%. Kuwait, 98%. So now, if this is the case, right? And self-preservation is the first law of nature. One has to sit down and examine what is really at the core of my national interest. Should I sacrifice my government, possibly my entire nation or fiefdom, and my standing with my people so that I can get a couple dollars through the back door for America, and these dollars are quickly losing value? Or should I stand up and say, listen, it's been real, but the pressure is up too strong, and we're going to have to tell you, you got to leave. You got to leave, because I'm having problems. I'm having my own internal problems that I have to deal with. So you can go somewhere else and play war. Think about what's going on now. All of these fiefdoms and kingdoms and sheikdoms, all of them now are in a bind. It reminds me of that scripture when it talked about how the nations had fornicated with the whore, the great whore of the world, who had, it talked about who had, that's right. So now we're having problems now that I'm talking about America now. You see how it's acting, right? But it's all good. And so, and I try to bring this to people's light when it talks about that great harlot, who had fornicated with all the nations, meaning that she was in bed with all of them, whether it was economically, politically, geopolitically, scientifically, industrially, whatever it was, culturally. She had gotten in bed with them. But the thing is, she had infected them. So it talks about how the nations had been plagued because they had fornicated with that whore. What do you get plagued with when you have sexual intercourse with what they call a whore, who has had many partners whether it's a male or female, right? You get chlamydia. You get economic, political, geopolitical, industrial gonorrhea. That's what's happening right now. You're seeing the West Asia burn literally and figuratively. They're burning right now. And now they're put in the position to say, hey, I need some economic, some political, and some geopolitical penicillin or something to stop the burning, to stop the itch. And they realize the source of the burning, the source of the problem. But they're so in love with that beautiful harlot, because remember it said that harlot was beautiful. Meaning that the talk, the mannerism, the way she dressed, our style of living, our democracy, all of that was tantalizing to some of them. So they couldn't look away from the whore because she was so mesmerizing, because everybody thought that she would always have that beauty. But we're looking at the beauty fade away, the economics of it, the education, the industries, the manufacturing, the political clout, the geopolitical clout, and in a sense, a reverberating feeling throughout the economies and the nations where the fornicator or the whore laid her head at. And now Iran is hitting them. Iran is hitting them, right? Shout out. I'm missing some. Hold on one second. This thing is jumping. Shout out to the Blue Pill Diaries. That's my son. That's one of my sons. Let's see. This thing is jumping. Hold on one second. Yeah, right here. Crabs, herpes, disease. That's right. That is what is happening. They have fornicated, taken the bribes, lying down in the with these intelligence agencies, fomenting unrest, destabilization, so that the West can capture resources for pennies on the dollar at the expense of the nations that they are destabilizing. And so now, as thou hast done, it is now being done unto thee. And we see the instability of the governments now. There's instability everywhere in the governments now that were fornicating with the whore. What's going on with Germany? What's going on with Italy? What's going on with Spain? What's going on with Ukraine? What's going on with Moldova? What's going on with Azerbaijan? What's going on with Turkey? What's going on with Cyprus? See, all of these, the UK, France, look at what's going on with them. Because all of them were in bed together. And all of them are pointing the finger at each other for the reason they have chlamydia, economic and political chlamydia. And it's burning the populations of each country. And this is causing them to rise up and say, hey, we need some sort of relief. We need some sort of relief from this economic gonorrhea, from this political crap that you have given us. So we see the people marching and protesting. We see the people celebrating counterstrikes by Iran. Whether they're in the Muslim world or whether they're in the Western world, we see people even under their breath muttering, I hope Iran teaches the empire lesson. Huh? Yeah. M. Spark said, you're going to F around and find out. Yeah, this is nothing but syphilis. America is the great harlot. She's that great whore. There's no other nation on earth that could compare to that description of having merchant ships to and fro and everywhere, and everyone wanted to trade with her and do business with her. That is not talking about a literal whore. That is talking about somebody who used their position in a whorish manner, right? That's America. That's America. Joel Bradford is in the building. Says the Epstein class stirred up the hornet's nest, killer bees nest, ants nest, and wasp nest at once. Absolutely. And now they're paying for it. But see, here's the thing. In the minds of a lot of people, it's hard for them to contemplate or to conceive of a world where America and her allies have to pay a cost because they've been getting away with this for so long. They thought that the laws of physics did not apply to them because they didn't get it right then and there. And sometimes God will give you rope to hang yourself. Just like he did, he allowed America to get beyond herself. And then when America felt constrained, what did she do? She went off the gold and silver standard, right? Roll off because she didn't have the supplies of gold and silver to match her spending spree. So she had to come up with another con, which was the petrodollar. But there was a con right before the petrodollar, though, that it didn't work. And then they went to that petrodollar. I forget what that con was. But then you see God saying, you know what, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let their own corruption be their own undoing. So the corruption and the greed and ineptitude of the leadership, they started taking away Glass-Steagall Act, all of this other stuff, deregulation, all of this stuff. And now look at where we are. Rigor mortis is setting in. The snake is starting to be a little more stiller and not contort. And this is where we are in time with the fall of America and the collapse of the Western world. People cannot fathom a world where the Western world is not the dominant power. This is what Trump and them are fighting. This is what they're fighting for. They are trying to disrupt a new world or a better world or a fairer world where they're not the center, where they don't dictate, where they don't dominate, where they don't control every aspect of it, financially, ethically, historically, or whatever. They have to control everything. Do you notice that? From George Bush all the way up through Obama, through Biden, through Trump, they always say, we need something new. Then they'll say, America must lead. Why? I often ask the question, why? If we were to just sit back for a second and look at America, and give her a fair shot, forget about everything else, let's just give her a fair shot and say, okay, what is her qualifications for leading us into something new, a newer world, a fairer system, okay? Let us interview her like you would interview a CEO or a COO or a CFO of a company or a chairman of a company. What have you brought to the world through your leadership? Well, you've been at war almost every year of your existence. You've left a trail of death, destruction, and ruin everywhere. You ignore the interests of your enemies and allies alike. And you treat everybody as if they're 2 to 3 steps beneath you. Your arrogance and hypocrisy and greed and corruption is destroying the very foundation which your empire sits on. The life's blood of the empire has lost 97% of its. Now, as a shareholder, would you allow that person to lead your corporation? If they've been 250, let's just say 250 years at a company, at the head of a company, we're talking about global affairs, and within a matter of 80 to 90 years, you have lost 97% profit on this. I'm asking you these things. What would you do? Would you hire that person to be your CEO or your chairman of the board or your CFO or your COO? If the qualifications show that they have destroyed the monetary system, they've destroyed the currency, they've destroyed banking, they've destroyed the livelihood of people, they've destroyed the international system of commerce, they've destroyed peace and stability. Everything that they've done points to destruction, alienation, and poverty. Would you think that they were qualified to run your corporation? And if not, then why must America lead something when we've seen where she's leading the world right now towards thermonuclear annihilation? Who in their right mind would hire somebody like that to be the head of their corporation and lead them into the future? Because if you hired them, there would be no future, because we've seen their past. We've calculated on what they've done present, and we can add 2 and 2 together and see what the projection will be of the future. Is that not right? It does not take rocket scientists to think about these and think over this stuff. Where has she shown herself to be worthy of ruling, especially something new? And remember what I told you guys. Systems don't spring up out of the ground. We're looking at this system, this Western system that is collapsing, right? Where did the system come from? With all things, it comes out of the mind of people, thoughts. So if you were to say, okay, we're going to bring in a new system, but we're going to leave the old leadership to help us with the new system, because they're only acclimated to the old, what do you think they would eventually do with the new? They would turn the new into the old, right? Because they benefited the most from the old. And they have a state of mind where they don't want you on the level with them financially, politically, or whatever. So why would you hire them? See, people don't ask these questions, but I do. Let's go in here. Let's see. All right. Brooke Chin, 1988, is in the building again. Hello, good to see the stream here again. Predictions for when Operation Epic Fury will be over. Right now, from what I heard earlier today, America is behind the scenes suing for peace. Now, I can't tell you, because these people, they play all kinds of politics, okay? And I can't play. Oh, I missed the super chat. Hold on, let me highlight this for a second. Shout out to M Sparks 187 for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Shout out to Joel Bradford for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. M Sparks says, salute, old boy. And Joel Bradford 1436 says, Operation Epstein Fury came down to Operation Epstein Epic failure. Boom, mic drop moment. Now, how do I, you asked me a question. When do I believe that it'll finish? I don't know. This is what I do know, that when it's done, America will not be the power that she is. The UK will not be the power that it still is. Israel will not exist in the manner that it is existing, because I want you to understand, if it were me, I could tell you when it would end. But I don't know, because of some of the politics that these people play behind the scenes. Because if it were me and you were to kill off my leader, and this is just a scenario, so YouTube, please don't say I'm pushing for war. But the first day you would have gotten pounded unmerciful. And first of all, you would not have been in a position to strike me preemptively, because when you were building up your war, when I know that that's what you were doing, I would have preemptively hit you. If somebody is talking belligerent to you, see, they don't use the basic laws of common sense. Now listen to me good. If I'm talking reckless to you, and you continue to say, listen, we don't have to go down this alley. Come on, let me go buy you a bottle of water or some juice, because I don't drink the liquor, and I don't. Let me buy you a bottle of water, a bottle of juice, and let's sit down and let's just talk about our interests in our families and stuff. You don't have to be so hyped about it. And I'm constantly, well, if you keep looking at me, I'm going to do this, but I'm getting more belligerent. I'm picking up weapons. I'm starting to inch further and further towards you. I'm closer and closer towards you. And I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Now, you have a family, right? Your responsibility, one of your main responsibilities to the family that you have is to try your best to make it home to them, right? So if someone is threatening to impede that or to stop that from happening, and they are showing you, because they continue to be irrational, belligerent, threatening, and aggressive towards you, do you allow them to get close enough with the pipe to hit you in the head? Or as soon as they're in strike range, boom, a strike. You strike first. They allowed the buildup around them. And then they responded, no, 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 you don't get that. America was willing to go to nuclear war, even though she started deploying weapons to Europe against the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union just put a few nuclear weapons in Cuba. Because America understood well, as did the Soviets. You don't allow this to happen, because now you've set a precedent, and now these people will become more emboldened and more emboldened. Look what happened when Putin didn't put his foot down at the beginning of the war. They become more emboldened. Your responsibility is to get home to your family. And anything that's trying to stop you from doing that, you must get it out of the way. And if it cannot be removed, you must eliminate it. That's common sense. That's daily thinking. You don't allow a person to come in front of your house, set up shop in front of your yard with guns and all, and talk belligerent to you. And you have a family up in there. You have to do something. As a man, it is your responsibility, even if it takes you out. It is your responsibility to defend your family at the cost of your life. If you won't do that, you're not worth squat. These are ways in which these lessons are things that we are supposed to not just apply in daily life. This is supposed to be applied universally, whether it's government or daily. And just stop me if I'm wrong. You know it. Let's see. Let's go to the chat real quick. Operation Epic Fail will be over in about 6 months, 1 year approximately. I do know this much, that America will not be the power that she is, that she was before she entered it, when she leaves. And why would I, after you killed the religious head, why would I negotiate with you? I was saying this from jump. I wouldn't negotiate them with anyone. How you gonna ask me to negotiate over nuclear terms when you have thousands in your nuclear arsenal? If you don't go sit down somewhere, you're the only nation to ever use them, and you accusing somebody else of doing something. You didn't use them once. You didn't even use them twice. Because you use depleted uranium, and that is something that is derived from what you make nuclear weapons from. Some of your shells are depleted uranium. And you want to talk about monitoring me? I say, okay, I'll let you monitor me when you destroy your weapons, and then you are under the same monitoring guidelines as me. Otherwise, this conversation does not take place. Here it is. You have a tank and a bazooka in your house, and you're scared for me to get a slingshot. You just went to war because you accused Iran of possibly or maybe wanting to have a nuclear weapon. And then at the same time, I'm going to show you how hypocritical this is. Okay? See, I'm going to show you just how hypocritical this is right here. Give me 1 second, everybody. Carl might be with us shortly, I guess. Hold on. If not, we still going to cook. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. Boom. I know it's on this one. Let's see. It has to be on this one. Because I want to show you the hypocrisy of this. And they accept this double standard and its foolishness, which is absolutely insane to me. Man, they better grow a pair. I'll tell you that much. I think I could pull it up right here. I'm going to show you the hypocrisy of this. All right. Now, they went to war with Iran of all of these different pretexts. Iran might have a nuclear weapon. But who do we know have nuclear weapons for sure? We know that the United States has them. We know that Russia has them. We know that China has them. We know that Pakistan has them. We know that India has them. We know that North Korea has them. We know that the UK has them. We know that France has them. All right? These are the ones that we know for sure. We know that South Korea has the capability, and we know that Japan has the capability and the fissile material to do it. All right? But everybody's harping on Iran. All right? Now, France just announced that they were going to up their nuclear stockpile. Why isn't Trump saying that France is a threat? Remember, France is a colonial power. So who could be more of a threat than a former colonial power? But not a word is uttered in Western press as that being a threat. Now, think about the arrogance of this, to announce this in the midst of an economic collapse in France, where farmers and everybody else are screaming about they need a living wage and they need the government to focus on them. These protests have been going on for weeks, right? And then you have the nerve to then come around and say, we're going to upgrade and add to our nuclear stockpile. That costs billions of dollars. You know that, right? Billions. But not a word uttered from Trump about going to war with France. Not a word about the so-called coalition of the willing to go in and disarm France. But just the thought of Iran getting a weapon. And then they let the cat out the bag. Rubio let the cat out the bag when he said, well, one of the reasons that we're going after Iran is because Iran could use these missiles against us, and that can limit our actions. Listen to what he says now, and I'm paraphrasing. That can limit our actions and our movements, which is a threat to our interests. And they can control the Strait of Hormuz, and they could respond to any attack on them. This is what Rubio was saying the other day. Nobody said, hey, man, you sound like a flipping lunatic. So you don't want Iran to have missiles that can strike Israel, but it's okay for Israel, you and the rest of the world to have missiles that can strike. And even if Trump, let's give Trump a little credit for a minute. He says it was an imminent threat. And Iran is working on missiles that could strike the territory, the mainland of the United States. Let's give him credit on this. Let's just say that's right. Okay? Let's just say that's right. Doesn't America have weapons that can strike the mainland of Iran? And even Swab is not a swindle player. What's the matter with me being able to defend myself against you? I haven't threatened you. I'm not belligerent against you. I'm not trying to steal your resources. I'm not trying to surround you with bases. Why is it that you are allowed to have these weapons, use these weapons, and then threaten other nations that don't have these weapons? And then just a hint of a thought that I might acquire the material to constitute one in the future if I so desire, then I'm a threat to national security and world stability. Man, stop this foolishness. As I constantly tell you guys, I might have been born that night, just not last night. You can't pull that over on me. All right. Shout out to Flying Crocodile in the building for the $25 super chat, for the $5 super chat. This thing is jumping. I'm sorry, everybody. And another super, man, this, hold on one second, everybody. This thing is tripping. Do I have that? And shout out to Flying Crocodile again for another $5 super chat. It says, tell Carl hello. Operation Epstein Jizzle will be sustained by Gotcha. I'm waiting for Carl to hit me back, okay? You know how we do it. If they don't show up, they will be on the next program. You know, we always catch up with the redo or whatever like that. And it's no big deal because I like chatting with you guys anyhow. But I just want you to think about that. Think about that. You have used these things and you're threatening me. You're threatening me, but you're the one that used them. You have thousands in your stockpile. Why are they so afraid of that? Huh? It's because if I get one, I don't care if you got 10,000. One will do the job. You can't bully me anymore. You can't impose your dictates and your interests on me anymore. And in a world of exceptionalism, that is unacceptable. Because I'm supposed to have the final say, not just in America, but globally. I'm supposed to be the one that controls everything, and I'm supposed to be the one that points out who can do this and who can't do that. That's the mind of an exceptionalist, right? So France talks about, matter of fact, let's see something real quick while I'm talking to you guys. I'm going to show you something. Excuse me. France nukes. Let's see. Really put up. There it is. I knew I'd find it. I knew it. All right. So I'm on here. Let's see. Let me put it back. Bam. I'm on here. Okay. See that? I know you can't see it real good, but I'm showing you where I'm at. And I went to RT. I put in France nuclear. That's all you have to put in, France nuclear, and then hit the search thing. And this is what it says: France to expand nuclear arsenal, according to Macron. No nation should shield itself from a French nuclear strike, the president has said. No. Let's read that again. Tell me I'm tripping. I want you guys to tell me that I'm tripping. No nation could shield itself from a French nuclear strike, the president has said. Then what the hell you need more weapons for then? Huh? Not the sharpest knife, but not the fork or the spoon either. So if you have 300 plus nuclear weapons, you can destroy the world or do a whole bunch of damage and cause a whole bunch of chaos. What do you need more for if nobody can stop you from striking them? Isn't that a waste of money? When the people are screaming out for help and healthcare and education and bill relief? Huh? We're talking geopolitics and news. Let's go a little bit further because I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline. Okay. France will expand its nuclear arsenal as part of the nation's new nuclear strategy. President Emmanuel Macron has said. He argued that the nation can only ensure its security by being feared. Now stop right there. You see that line of exceptionalism? The nation can only ensure its security by being feared. Why is that right granted to France, the UK, the United States, China, and Russia, and nobody else? And why do you want to be feared? You're not God. You're not God. Listen to me good. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. We got to go someday. So why should I fear you? Your life is beautiful. But to live under this kind of rulership is untenable. It's so ingrained in their minds that when they say it to you, you don't even question it. France will expand its nuclear arsenal. Now, did Trump say we're going to threaten France and invade France and bomb France because France is a threat? You remember that it was de Gaulle, Admiral de Gaulle, who became President de Gaulle, who did not want to accept being a part of the United States nuclear shield and worked behind closed doors to get France its own nuclear weapons. And it was de Gaulle who, when Richard Nixon when everybody in the world was saying, hey, the United States is spending a lot of money and we need to audit Fort Knox and all of this stuff like this. And Richard Nixon took to the thing and said, America's dollar is as good as gold. Remember that? I know you guys remember that. And then Charles de Gaulle said, well, then give us gold then. And this started a run on the dollar. And then Richard Nixon put a stop to that. And then He took the world off the gold and silver standard. So if anybody was a threat, according to their history, when America perceived France's move as a threat instead of Iran's enrichment for medicine purposes, medicinal purposes? Huh? And why must you be feared? Why must you be feared? A strong person does not have to bully people. You don't have to go and tell everybody that you know this and you know that. Let me tell you something. I had been going in and out of the store. Me and my children, we had been going in and out of the store for a couple years, right? And so everybody, the managers got to know us and stuff. So they used to always say, you know what, your children are so well mannered and so nice, and this and this. You and your wife, you're doing an excellent job, and it made me feel good, right? Now this has something to do with being feared. So I always taught them the humility and to be humble, regardless of what you know. Because if somebody strikes you first, they can get you out of here no matter what you know. So they never knew up until one day when something popped off in the store and I had to nip that in the bud. They never knew that I was a black belt in Yoshikai Karate. They never knew that I was a black belt in Taekwondo. They never knew that I was a student instructor in Nabard combat. They never knew that I took up mixed martial arts, that I'm a blue belt in judo and a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. They never knew my children were blue belts in jiu-jitsu and blue belts in judo. They never knew my children were student instructors in Nabard combat. Because we didn't throw that in nobody, because we didn't want to be feared. We didn't want people to look at us different. That it teaches you humility. Humility. I don't want you to fear me. To fear the right thing is to fear God, but not in a trembling way. To fear God, to fear his disapproval. All this other stuff is arrogance. And the people in there say, we never knew. We never knew this. You never said anything until it had to be shown in there real quick. You don't, if you are confident in yourself, you don't have to be feared. You don't even have to be acknowledged. It's only when people get out of line and they cross the line, do you then try to bring them back to reality? Or then you have to, if that does not work, if diplomacy doesn't work, then you have to do what you have to do to protect you and yours, okay? This is false bravado. This shows me that they are afraid of what is coming. You got to be feared. I got to up my nuclear weapons. Like it's a pissing contest. Who has the most nuclear weapons? Well, it doesn't take all those nuclear weapons to destroy. Why would he even say something like this when Russia has a nuclear weapon? I forget the name of it. The Avant-Garde, I believe that's what it is. I might be wrong on this. That has the destructive power, according to some analysts, that one missile can destroy the state of Texas. France is smaller than the U.S. state of Texas. So why is all this bluster? It goes further and says, the announcement came during a keynote speech given by Macron on Monday at a military base hosting the country's ballistic missile submarines. He justified the need to review the nuclear posture by the need to adapt to what he described as a new reality, citing Russia's ongoing development of its arsenal and China's effort to catch up militarily with the U.S. as key threats. Now, you see how they threw China up in there? He didn't say that America's weapons were the threat. He said that it was Russia's weapons and China trying to catch up. They have to have something over you. They have to try to, I have more weapons, or I have this, or that is, it's like high school kids. These people are in suits, but they're children in their mind. And this is what's leading the world to war. I got the biggest stick. I say stick now. I want you to understand that. I say, I have the biggest stick. I walk the biggest. I'm the tallest. I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, blah, blah. You understand? And what we're watching is the slow motion collapse where now the snowball is built up and it is tumbling down towards the resort, and it's going to take everything out in front of it. Red Axis says the Duran said that USA asked for a meeting many times. Iran declined. Yeah, I reported that the day it happened, the night it happened. Actually, someone in that I know contacted me and told me that immediately, and I put it out there immediately. Yeah. So, and then I saw a lot of other channels report on it a few days later or a day later or something like that. I'm not saying that Duran did. I'm just saying I saw that. They've asked for it, and Iran's one of the response was hell no. And it goes back to what I was saying. You go and kill my wife, my children, most of my children, my mother, my brothers, and then the day after, when I'm digging up into you, I'm getting at you, hurting you in multiple ways. You want to talk? The talking should have happened before you made these errors, before you strayed this far. The only talk that I have for you now is that I got to get my get back. I have to get you, because if I don't get you, you're going to continue to do this, and you've shown a pattern of doing this to multiple people. So if I've got to sacrifice myself to show you this goes no further with me, with any other nation, then guess what? That's what it'll have to be. That's what it'll have to be. I'll stand up for the small, the middle, and the large nations to show you, man, don't be a coward. Why are you fearing death? Death can come to you at any moment in life. That's one thing that's assured to you. But it's the way you die and in the manner in which you die. All right. So again, let me go to let's see. Michael N007 says facts. All they do is cost you money. Russia and China are trying to help you make money. And listen, what's crazy about this is these people are crazy. When I tell you that they're crazy, most people just disregard that and say, yeah, he's talking. No, they're crazy. You tell me a sane person that will purposely spend more money on weapons, war, and destruction, and destructive weapons, than to invest in their people. As I often bring up this point, America says we have enough weapons to blow the world up 300 times. You won't be able to blow it up one time. You think you're the power. There's another power behind you, and that's God. What if he don't want you to blow it up? You can stockpile all your weapons. But again, they boast about having this authority to blow the world up. And then you ask them, see, this is where you see the insanity of it. Okay, then where are you going to go? When you blow the world up, where are you going to go? Because you can't live on Pluto unless you take the water and the food and the atmosphere with you. You can't. Elon Musk and everybody else is selling this dream about living on Mars. You are not from Mars. The essence of you is not from there. That's why these astronauts can only go so far, and then they have to come back. Because the essence of you is from this planet. And the way life was created according to the planets. They can sell you this Star Trek stuff all they want to. That is not real life. And if you don't have an environment on the planet, and say for instance you go to Mars and you set up some domes there, how are you going to keep resupplying it with oxygen? How are you going to keep resupplying it with food and water? Because you can't drink or eat anything there because it's of the soil of that planet. And if you eat or drink it, you will die. Go to science and tell me I'm lying to you all. So now this shows you the lunacy of them talking about the buildup of weapons and the destruction of their home planet. So this disqualifies them immediately from leading any future government or future nation or future world, because they're lunatics. I call them berserkers. M. Spark says, somebody tell Garland Nixon and the TY liberals at Revolutionary Change to unblock your boy. I don't even know Garland Nixon. Oh yeah, I do know. I've heard of him. Yeah. William Gilchrist says, Operation Epic failed. That's the size of it. From the obviously illogicality of their current enterprise will indeed fail, but the effects are the objective to attain their gain. Let's see. Epic Fury. All right. Shout out again, like I said, shout out to Joel Bradford for the $5 super chat. All right. Let me scroll down a little bit because it's jumping, everybody. I'm sorry, but I can't control this jumping. They banned me from the premium platform. I don't know why. I guess because we had our bank to go and do something to them, and now they won't even allow. I don't care what kind of credit card I use or whatever. They won't even allow me to get the premium package on StreamYard. They keep saying bank failure, bank, it's on your bank end. We call the bank. Oh no, it's on their end. So I don't know what the deal is with them, and I really don't care. I have the other platform to restream, but to me, I got to get my son to do something over there because Michael N says, good analogy. Absolutely. Rashid is the master of analogy. Absolutely. Because listen, common sense. I say this ad nauseum, but common sense is not so common in today's world. So when you see a person making sense of things and a person that speaks directly to you, it seems out of the ordinary because most people are not straight shooters. They have something behind them, whether it's financial or whether it's political or something that they can't be 100% straight with you about stuff. I don't care nothing about it. All right. Justice for the decided states of Epstein. Oh my God. M Sparks, you off the chain. It says he knows how to speak to the masses and explain things. Let's see. Brooke Chen says, speaking of France, I heard France is planning on building another nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. With what money? They're talking a good game, right? Well, see, all of this is false bravado. They want to. They may even try to. But we must remember that it takes money, right? Now, if it takes money to do it, takes skill, ingenuity, scientific research, right? What they call R&D, research and development, right? Because you don't want to just turn out something that you had 20 years ago. You wanted something more advanced today, right? So it takes all of that. But the biggest part of it is finance. Now, look at France's economy today and tell me, do they have the financial wherewithal to do it? What does America say? We have to cut back on ships, right? America, once the largest navy in the world, she had to scrap a lot of her ships, right? Why? Because she doesn't have the funding. And guess what? From what I've found out from behind the scenes is that a lot of America's ships are selling, and they don't even have full crews. So that's something, huh? So we can talk a big game, but in the end, doesn't matter. All it will be is another target. That's all it'll be. Brooke Chen says, given what is going on, I'm curious to see how future military projects from major countries will proceed further. This is what's going on. There's a change of worlds, a change of global order. And what is going on right now is, how can I put this in words? You know how They say you go through stages of grief, and then you go through stages of mourning, then you go through stages of acceptance. But before that, you go through that stage of where you just don't accept. America in the West are in the stage where they don't want to accept the fact that economically they are no longer the juggernauts, that industrially they're no longer the juggernauts, that politically they are losing their position as the juggernauts. Militarily, they have peers and even in some cases people above them, right? So it's hard for them to accept that, especially when you've been the preeminent power for, well, I should say all of them in succession for the last 500, 600 years or something like that, in succession. Now for that to be challenged and you to be in a position where the only thing that you can resort to is chaos and war. This puts you on the back footing, and they don't know how to process not being able to cower nations. Did you hear what they said when they attacked Iran? They said, we don't know why they won't capitulate. Did you hear what they say before they attack Iran? We threaten it. We don't know why they won't just give us what we want. This is what they said. Go Google this. Because in their minds, threats and war is natural. And to make people capitulate, bow down, bend the knee, is something that they are so used to, is so ingrained into their mind that they cannot fathom a nation saying, you know what? No talks. Since you're this big military power, let's do it. Let's face off. It is incomprehensible for them and incomprehensible for them to get that in their head because they've dominated so long. And this also sparks anger. And this is why you see them doing what they're doing. This is why they're carpet bombing Tehran, because they can't make them capitulate. And this is why they are constantly, while talking about Tehran, they're still supplying Ukraine with weapons and intelligence and all of this, because they are mad that they lost and they couldn't make Russia capitulate. While they are talking about trading with China, you see them talking about arming Chinese Taipei or Taiwan. It is in order to start trouble and also to make China look as if it's aggressive for protesting that, while they are now stoking tensions with Japan and China, and they're trying to arm an island that is just 5 miles off the coast of China that belongs to Korea. It is to start chaos and war because they don't see any other way to maintain their rule. And you guys can Google it. Let me see. Let me just put a couple crazy words in the search engine for a minute. U.S. assessment sees China as the... Hold on one second, everybody. All right. Let's see. Listen to this. I just put this in there. U.S. assessment sees China as the #1 power. Soon. I put those words. I'm doing this live on air just to show you that you can do it also. So there's no predetermined me knowing what it's going to say, because it could say something absolutely opposite of what I'm talking about. But it says, as of early 2026, many U.S. assessments and public sentiment view China as an imminent top-tier competitor set to equal or surpass the United States in global power soon. So listen to what it goes on to say. Nearly 75% of Americans expect China to eventually overtake the U.S., with 47% anticipating this shift within 5 years. China is considered a pacing threat by the Pentagon, dominating in areas like military modernization. So the Pentagon sees China's rise as a threat. Why? Because the Pentagon says that China will become the preeminent power, right? Well, America has been in the preeminent position for so long, hasn't she? And she would reassure the world that she wasn't a threat because she was the most powerful one, even though she was the threat. So now the Pentagon is in an unfamiliar position when they no longer have the keys to power. They no longer control everything, right? And China is being deemed as a pacing threat, and we're going to find out, okay? I want you to see, I do this live on the air for you all. All right. Let's go back 1 second. I put too many letters up in this mug on that one. I'm sorry about that. Now, according to the word pacing, it is from the core word of pace. Pace is a verb. P-A-C-E. All right. It says walk at a steady and consistent speed, especially back and forth and as an expression of one's anxiety or annoyance. To walk, stride, tread. A measure of distance by walking it and counting the number of steps taken. To lead another runner in a race in order to establish a competitive speed. So they see China as a nation that is in the lead, right, of another nation, which is itself. And it is establishing a competitive speed in everything that the U.S. and the West dominated in, right? And when we look at that, we can measure step by step that America is outpacing. China is outpacing America, and this is why they are deemed a threat. It's not because China threatened war with America. It's not because China is trying to bully America. It's because America no longer have the levels of power that she once enjoyed over China. And China now can give back as good as it can take from America. This is unacceptable. I hope you guys are hearing what I'm saying. I mean, let's go here. I read articles talking about how Operation Epic Fury demonstrates the importance for U.S. to upgrade major systems like F-22 and F-35 and needing to develop new projects faster. What, like the F-47 sixth-generation fighter and the B-21. Well, the F-22 was the most advanced fighter, but it's still using now fourth and fifth generation technology. And China has already demonstrated 2 new sixth generation fighters. All right. What M said, he says, Elpham, 100% karma is a be off. He didn't use the curse word. Brooke Chen says, also read a while back that U.S. Chief of Naval Operations Darrell Claude talked about how it's vital the U.S. Navy needs the FA-20, which is a sixth generation fighter tool too. Yeah, they can talk. They don't have the money. They don't see. Here is something. They can talk. They don't have the research and development. They don't have they just can't say we want it. You have to do research and development. And then you have, when you put that skin in the game, the financing behind it, and then you do the research and development, it takes years. They just can't go from what they have now with this F-35 that can't fly in a lightning storm to a sixth generation warplane, right? It's crazy. Yeah, the U.S. has like over 500 nukes. 5,000 nukes. You better believe it. Let's see. William Gilchrist says it is insane for we deal with those who made themselves immoral but manipulated by monsters. You said it. Let's see. Let me go down. All right. The U.S. is getting divorced from everyone. Yeah, she burned everybody. They found out that she was a harlot. She promised to be exclusively to the UK and exclusively to the EU. And you saw it down in Latin America and in the Caribbean and over in Africa and in West Asia and up into the Caucasus and over there in the South Caucasus region. And you see it in Asia. Everybody says that she slept around with everybody now. But China has that penicillin. You see that China has built up banks, built up commerce, built up financial regimes outside of the SWIFT and outside of the US and the West cartel. China is offering that penicillin to the nations that got burned by America in the West. And you know, if you let syphilis or gonorrhea sit on you for a while, you'll go crazy. What are the leaders of the West demonstrating to the people of the world? Insanity, right? Insanity. So they've had this economic and political gonorrhea for quite some time now. Yeah, the former Rothschild banker. Let's go down. Red Axis says de Gaulle was all right. He tried to withdraw from NATO, so they made a color revolution again. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They had a color revolution against him. All right. Yep. De Gaulle, it's a lot of stuff about de Gaulle, good and bad. I'm a student of history. So I do and geopolitics. I also know scriptures, both Christian scriptures, Muslim scriptures. I even know Hindu scriptures. And I've studied all this stuff. Let's see. I'm gonna put that up there, but I'm not gonna say it because YouTube might kick me off there for that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you say he also recalled the French gold, yeah, he said when Nixon said the dollar was as good as gold, he said, well, then give us our gold. And Nixon knew that they didn't have it. They didn't have all the gold because other nations started, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. Let us hold our own gold. Look at Germany right now. Germany still hasn't gotten its gold, all this gold back from the United States, and that's an ally. The United States has multiple bases in Germany. Man, stop this. Stop playing with me. Let's see. That's amazing. My son needs you. Let's see. Hold on one second, everybody. This thing is jumping again. God dang it. Yeah, a Sarmat. He went back right. The Sarmat 2. Thank you, Joel. Thank you. That's the missile that I was talking about. That one of those has the destructive power to level a state, the entire state of Texas. And remember that France is not even as big as Texas. That's crazy, right? And this man is boasting about getting a couple of more nuclear weapons. Where you gonna go? You unleash them, where you gonna go? These people think that living underground will stop. Okay, let's just say you started a nuclear war and you go underground. The atmosphere is contaminated above ground. Now, when you start having mechanical problems, because all machinery has problems at one time or another, where you gonna go then? When the oxygen purifier stops purifying the oxygen. When the water purifier stops purifying the water. When the plants start dying that you have down there for food. When the lighting and the energy is exhausted. Where you gonna go? See, they don't think about this stuff. All they think about is power and holding on to power at all costs, even if it means killing everybody. That's the sign of devil. That's the sign of Satan. Willing to kill everybody. See, America has this thing. Remember, in the Bible, Satan says he wanted to be like the most high. And I will be like unto the Most High. Right? Well, God demands you to submit to him. God demands you to do this and that, right? What does America do? She does not ask you. She tells you, you need to do this. You've got to be a democracy. You've got to do this. You've got to do it this way. Iraq says we voted Al-Maliki back in. Al-Maliki back in. We don't want him in. Look at Trump. Well, I'm going to decide who is the new leader of Iran. Go look at this stuff. He's saying this. That is the mind of Satan. I'm the exceptional one. The laws of physics don't apply to me. I will breathe into everybody my inspiration, how they should think, how they should walk, talk, act, and everything else. And you'll submit to me. And tell me if I'm lying when I tell you that these are the policies of America. I just want somebody to just tell me that I'm lying. Everybody knows that I'm telling the truth. And let's see. The French at that time with de Gaulle never did get their gold back, but de Gaulle did get 30 assassination attempts on his life by NATO's Gladio. Stay behind units. Yep. You're right. Let's see. I ain't religious, but I do borrow some stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see, James Alec 1321. I think I said it right. A Marine veteran was in Congress. I saw that. Was protesting the use of Americans in attacking Iran on behalf of Israel, exercising his Fifth Amendment rights, and got attacked and arm broken by Capitol Police. That's because you don't have no right. See, this is something that I was listening to a white preacher talking about this the other day. And he was saying that he was talking to his congregation. He said, listen, what I'm about to say, you are not going to like, but I have to call an ace and a spade, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, Black America has been calling this stuff out forever. And when they were calling it out, everybody said, just shut up and do X, Y, and Z. It's not that bad. He said, and now the state has turned inward on the people that the state was built for. And now we see the corruption, the ineptitude, the injustice of the system, because now the system has not only is not only going at blacks, but it's going at everybody now. So you're seeing people being slaughtered and shot in the face on that's not black, as well as you're seeing blacks slaughtered. And now you're seeing white people slaughtered. You're seeing brown people, red and yellow people slaughtered. And the preacher said, we were being warned, but because we were so thick-headed, we couldn't see it because we thought blacks were just complaining. And now it's tapping at our door and we can see it better and understand it a little bit more. I was like, wow, this is something. Brooke Chin says, France is desperate to try to reclaim its status as a major power. France is going to tuck tail and run. When all of this stuff is all said and done, France is going to tuck tail and run. She's going to be the one to break out of the NATO thing or whatever. But let's see. Brooke Chin says, Hexif is constantly bragging about the U.S. military being the most powerful and how only the U.S. can project military power globally. Well, guess what? That shows you the weakness of it. If I'm confident in who I am, I don't have to go around telling everybody, just like when I gave you guys that example of when I had this run-in with a Bellator fighter, right? Because of what he was saying to my children, and they brought it back to me. I didn't go through the whole academy. No, I didn't. I told my children, don't worry about it. I'll handle this. I got this. And when the time presented itself, I confronted him. And then let him know this, it won't be sweet. I didn't have to thump my chest with everybody. Oh, I'm going to do. No, I just went and did it. Because I'm a grown man, and that's the way grown men are supposed to do things. You're supposed, if you got a problem, you go directly to the problem and you handle that problem. If you don't, eventually the problem will handle you. So Hold on 1 second, everybody. All right, there we go. Is that it? Hold on 1 second, everybody. Come on. Hold on. I'm trying to see something. Let's see. All right, there we are. My battery was going low on this. And I'm not in my office, so I'm not with the other computers or okay. So and the battery is going dead. So I had to plug it in into the surge protector right down here. But anyway, yeah, you're supposed to talk like a man. You don't have to be boastful and bragging about this stuff. To me, that shows me that you're kind of iffy or shaky about certain things. But that's the way I was. Even with me and my brothers, we love each other. We talk to each other like men. We respect each other like that. You can't get outrageous with a person and then expect them to just be fine with you getting outrageous. No, you go to them like a man, and also when you talk to them, you offer them a way out, a respectable way out, so the confrontation doesn't have to take place. But if they don't want that way out, you give them what they want. But I always try to be the diplomat about it. Gilchrist says, hey, Rashid, talking has its time and place, but once the Rubicon is crossed, there can be no return. Absolutely. Once the Rubicon is crossed, that's it. That's it. And like I said, when I confronted the guy, at first he acted like he didn't understand. Then I told him, listen, before we leave here, if you have any type of feelings, let's go out on the mat and let's handle it. This is the place where we handle this. So, because I don't want to leave and come back and it's murmurs and whispers about what you would have done. No, let's handle this right. Let's get this out of the way. And then tomorrow we can come in here and sit down and laugh. But I guess being straight up, people can't deal with that. Let's see. Brooke Chen says, would love to see a scenario breakdown of how a U.S.-China conflict in the 2030s could play out. I feel like this would be very important to know. Well, Brooke, I'm gonna tell you about this. This is not going to 2030. This is happening soon. As America is weakened by Iran and is forced out, this is the chain of events that I've said earlier. America will be weakened by what's going on in West Asia, in this regional war. I've said this before the war took place. I said it when everybody was focusing on Ukraine. I said it before the Ukrainian war broke out. When things go down in West Asia, when they attack Persia, that's scripture. They were going to attack Persia. America will be pushed out of West Asia, North Africa, the MENA region, the Middle Eastern North African region. She will be broken, and China will see America in decline. And that's when China will give the choice to Taiwan to voluntarily reunify or take your chances on something. And America, in her weakened state, will go against China, and China is going to beat the flip-flops off of them. And while this is on, those nations in Asia will switch sides. All of America allies in Asia are going to flip the script on her. Watch what I tell you now. And then Russia will be watching this. And while that is going on, see, most people think that these things happen exclusively. No, all of this is interconnected. That will be happening. Why do you think America is now trying to put together Asian NATO? Because she understands what's going on, and she needs to move some of her weapons to try to handle Iran. Russia will be watching this too when she goes into conflict with China. And Russia is going to pay back those former Soviet republics that did dirt to her. And then they're going to ask America to intervene. America is going to be skeptical. But then they're going to demand that America honor the defense clause, and America and Russia are going to go and they're going to fight on the European continent. And Russia is going to beat the brakes off America. And America is going to respond with a nuclear strike on Russia. And Russia will then, in turn, retaliate across Europe. And it will be a nuclear war in Europe. And from that point on, they will negotiate America leaving the scene, where America will, when she comes home to her shores, she'll be hobbled, she'll be broke, and she'll be beaten down, and she'll come back within her own borders. And then the Latin American nations will see the condition that America is in, and they're going to come back to get their get back. This is why Trump is so fixated on closing that border. He understands prophecy. He understands time. He's dumb, but he understands that. This is the reason behind the chaos at the border. While they're trying so much to close off that border, they understand. And I've been saying this before any of this was evident, and I'm saying it now. And China is going to roll over Australia as if it was a parking lot, and they were a bulldozer, because Australia figures into this too. I'm telling you this. Do you not see the buildup for this? Now America is now opening up nuclear submarine bases in Australia. When I was saying this, they didn't have that there. But now it's going down. It's going down. And America's putting radars in Australia. What is that for? What did she do all of that stuff for in West Asia? For a war with Iran, right? What is she doing that now in Asia proper for a war with China? And why is she so hell-bent on putting land cruise missiles in Europe and radars facing Russia for a showdown with Russia? This costs money. This costs a lot of research and development. This costs a lot of time and effort. So don't think that these things are just happening just by chance. All of this is interconnected to what we now see happening. We see the collapse of the Western world. And I'm going to call it ace and a spade a spade. I don't see the war with China and America in the 2030s. I see it happening. It's according to when this war really intensifies here in West Asia. And I see it not too long after that. It's going to start incrementally happening while that is going on. Don't you see China has warships in that area, monitoring everything? Don't you see China handing over radars and missiles to Iran? All this happened. All of this is interconnected. But everybody wants to compartmentalize this stuff because they don't want to come to the grand acknowledgement that this is the end of America as a global power. And if it's the end of America as a global power, in their mind, they understand that this is the end of the West as a global power and influencer over politics universally. And this is something that is hard to get most people to accept. But it is the reality of the time. Listen, I've held you long enough. I'm getting ready to call. We're going to do a redo. We got to do a redo with Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. We got to do a redo with Carl. So look for them. We've got Tariq Amir coming on soon. We got Gregory Manarino coming on soon. We have I forget the physicist's name. I forget his name, coming on soon. We have Salim Mansour coming on soon. Tomorrow we're supposed to have Dimitri Lascaris on in the morning. And following that, we're supposed to have Dr. E. Michael Jones on the platform tomorrow. So that's another doubleheader for you guys. Man, I want to thank every one of you for staying here this whole time. I want to thank you who came and checked us out. Don't forget to hit the like button and share. Please do that to get me in the algorithm because they continue to block me out of the algorithm. I want to take the time out to thank everybody who watched, who will download, who will share. I would like to thank all of you who subscribed, also hit the bell icon, and those who donated and those who wanted to donate, those who couldn't donate. But your conversation means a lot. You communicated in the chat. I really appreciate all of that from the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul. And I'll say this ad nauseum: do right to others and do right by others. Not because there's some material gain to be had or because of some accolades. Do right to others and by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty is watching you. As my late, great, beautiful, wonderful mother would say, God sits high on the throne of power, but he looks low at the actions of man. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves freedom, justice, and equality and truth. And loves freedom, justice, and equality and truth. Let me say that one more time. And loves freedom, justice, and equality and truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true. But above all things, remember to stay righteous, because righteousness is the only thing that's going to get you out of here. Hey, mama, look at me. Your baby boy still loves you and represents you more than life. Deuces, everybody. I love you. Peace. We're out of here.